stamp set, which is one of the new stamp sets from the Sale-a-bration brochure. This is actually one of those stamp sets that you can get with an order of $300 or greater, a personal order, or with a workshop of $300 or greater, or a party total of $300 or greater. So it's a really pretty stamp set that Stampin' Up! has designed just for the hosts during Sale-a-bration. So you can get this for free, again, with an order of $300 or greater, or with a party of $300 or greater during Sale-a-bration. And Sale-a-bration runs from the 1st of July. I was going to say the 1st of August. No, that's all right. The 1st of July through the end of August. So you've got a full 2 months to try to get the set. And it's, like I said, it's really pretty and just, it's really easy to use. It's a photopolymer, so you can see through it, which makes for easy stamping. So, hey, Pam and Karen, thanks for hopping in today. So this is the card we're making, and I'm going to scooch the camera just a little. I don't know. I try to get it set up, and I don't ever get it done right before we get going. So this is the card we're making today. It's super simple. But it's one of those days where I kind of wanted a super simple card to go with because it's been a little crazy. The new catalog ordering and trying to get product shares and all that ordered. It was a little nutty this morning. So, all right. So let me set that aside and show you a couple of the other things that I used. The Lovely and Lasting stamp set bundle is where I got the sentiment from. And it's got this cool little outline image here that coordinates with the lasting label punch. And all the sentiments pretty much fit inside it. And we're using the Thinking of You for our card today. So, hey, Connie, glad that you're here as well. And thanks, Karen. I appreciate that. You're sneaking in from work. All right. I can deal with that. So, all right. So let me set the punch aside here before I drop something. And then the other thing that we are using is the stitched rectangle dies, and we're using the second largest of the stitched rectangle dies, and that was just used to cut out the kind of the main panel on the card front. Hey, Carol, thanks for joining. I appreciate you being here. All right, before we get going, obviously, hopefully you know that the new catalog has kicked off. The new July to December 2022 mini catalog ordering started today, and Stampin' Up! Sale-a-bration event. So Sale-a-bration, you earn a free item with every $50 that you order, either in a one order or several orders, however you want to do it. There are also some $100 level items in the Sale-a-bration brochure. So some of them are only available with orders of 100 or greater. Or like I said, there's also this perfect pomegranate stamp set, which is available with orders, personal orders of $300 or greater, or you can also get it if you have a party or a workshop during Sale-a-bration and the sales totals are $300. It's automatically given to you for free. In addition to that, I am actually doing a little ordering bonus for the first week of Sale-a-bration in the new catalog. You're going to get double reward points from me for every order of $50 or greater. So, hey, Julie, and just placed her order today and getting this set. Yes, it's a good one. Hey, Pamela, thanks for hopping in. It's really, like I said, I looked at it in the catalog and I'm like, it's okay. But once I played with it, I actually really like it. It's a good stamp set and really easy to use, which I love. All right, so my original card base is the 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2 across the top because it's the top fold card that I like. But obviously this card can also be done with your standard issue book fold card. So the card base we're using today is Rich Razzleberry, and it is cut to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. So it's a half sheet of regular 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock, scored right down the middle, and you got 2 card bases if you chop up your cardstock that way. Oh, I grabbed the wrong adhesive. So this is actually the back side. And it's almost sad to put it down because it's so pretty, but I didn't think it'd go very well with the other side of the images over there. So this is actually from the Wonderful World stamp set bundle, which is also a Sale-a-bration item. This is one of those that is the $100 level, and there's a stamp set that coordinates with it that's got some beautiful floral images, and there's a pack of Designer Series paper, so they're bundled together as one of the $100 level items for Sale-a-bration. So you get it for free with an order of $100 or greater. I'm going to use a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue and just going to put that all across the card front here, around the edges, mostly a little bit in the middle. And this piece should be cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it should fit, if I don't drop it in the glue first, should fit over the entire card front if I have cut everything correctly and measured it correctly, which sometimes I do. sometimes I don't. So, all right, so we got that stuck down. I usually use, because as you know, if you've seen me do gluing projects before, I make a mess a lot of times with the liquid glue, so I try to use the regular tape runner adhesives. But on things like this, it is definitely easier to put on the full piece and be able to wiggle it around and give yourself a little bit of extra room before everything is stuck down for good. So I use the liquid glue on that. And oh, you like the card base color? Yep, that is, it's Rich Razzleberry, which is one of those colors that I don't use a whole lot. I don't know, I find that I kind of go in streaks with it. It seems like fall, I tend to use it a little bit more, and not so much for summer and things. But I think this is a perfect summer card, and I think you can definitely use it. So, hey, Jean, thanks for hopping in today. So I have cut a piece of basic white cardstock with one of the stitched rectangles dies. This is the second largest. Let me grab the die set back here. And I cut it ahead of time just because it doesn't, you know, you can cut it and stamp on it, no problem. So second largest of the stitched rectangle dies. And again, just basic white cardstock. And I've got the pomegranate images here and the leaf images, a couple of them, and we'll just start stamping. So realize that I don't want to start with the pomegranates. What I want to start with is the larger leaf image. And I've got Old Olive ink. And I'm just going to ink up the leaf image on here. This is one of those distinctive stamp sets. So it is going to be, it's going to stamp a little darker in some areas and a little lighter in others. And it's designed to do that. So I'm basically just trying to get the little end of the stem so it's just barely off the edge of my cardstock panel. Hopefully I stamped it correctly. If not, we'll hide it with some other leaves. All right, so we've got Old Olive cardstock, or cardstock, ink for that one. And I'm going to wait before I stamp the second one down here until I have the pomegranate stamped here, because I want to know where they're going to land before I start stamping on this part of the card front. So let me grab my Rich Razzleberry ink. And again, just it's the double pomegranate image from the Perfect Pomegranate stamp set. And hopefully you can see it. It inks up even, it looks a little uneven when it inks up, but that's actually the way the stamp is designed. Again, it's one of those that is distinctive, so it's going to stamp lighter and darker, and all you have to do is ink it and stamp it once. And I'm going to try to get these lined up here as best I can with my little stem images. Give it a good smoosh down here. All right, looks like we got a fairly decent image. And then there are the little pomegranate seeds images, or the pomegranate seeds image, I should say. We're going to also stamp that in Rich Razzleberry ink. And there is a right and a wrong way to this. It's thicker on this side, thinner on this one, so just be careful when you're stamping your little seeds on it that you also stamp them the same way. And again, it's you can see through it pretty easily, so you can see where to stamp at. And I think we'll actually... I'll start with the leaves then on the next one. Then I'm going to stamp this set of leaves here again in Old Olive ink. And I'm going to stamp it down here a little bit nearer the bottom of the card. Bottom of the card front, I guess I should say, bottom of the die cut. And we'll close up the Old Olive for now. And then I'm going to come back with that same larger pomegranate image in Rich Razzleberry ink. Just going to turn it so that I can hopefully see it a little bit better and hopefully get it stamped where it needs to go. All right, and then we're going to come back in again with the little pomegranate seeds and stamp them over the open pomegranate image in here. And then we're going to come in with Pear Pizzazz ink. And hey, Brooke, glad that you're here. So Pear Pizzazz ink. And then this is the little 3-leaf image from the Perfect Pomegranate stamp set. And I'm just going to kind of stamp this randomly a couple times over the other image that's already here. So again, I don't know that there's any special way you need to do it, or, you know, I just kind of wanted it to look like a lot of leaves and be a nice sort of layered stamped look on it. So stamped a couple there, and we'll come down here and do the same thing again, stamp a couple here. There we go. And again, that was Pear Pizzazz ink. So I'm going to close that up so hopefully I don't stick my fingers in it. And we're kind of getting, you know, a lot of the card front is almost all done. All right. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to adhere it to a panel of Rich Razzleberry cardstock. And this one is cut to about 3.5 by about 4 7/8. So it's about 1/8 of an inch bigger than the die cut. Thought you'd double stamp the upside down and realized they were hanging. Ah, see, and I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I looked at it because the one was cut open, and I'm like, I'm not sure if they're supposed to work this way. I think they hang down. I did very minimal research on pomegranates before I went and stamped this the first time, and I think that I stamped them the right way. I think they hang downward. But if somebody is, grows pomegranates or has seen them for real on a tree before, you may feel differently and may stamp them, and maybe I'm totally stamping them upside down, but I think they're right. I don't even know. So use a little bit of Stampin' Seal, and we're just going to adhere this together. The reason I didn't flip this over is because sometimes the rich raspberry ink can take just a minute to dry, and I didn't want to smudge it by flipping it over and accidentally moving it around. So I figured I would just leave it as it was. Then I'm going to take this and adhere it to the card front here with some Stampin' Dimensionals. The layered look on the leaves, actually, it's really pretty. Like I said, it's a pretty stamp set, and one that I didn't necessarily think that I liked very well when when I saw it initially in the catalog. Like I said, I thought, it's okay, but it's nothing very special. And then I stamped with it, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty. So, all right, doing a couple of little of my half Stampin' Dimensionals. And we're just adhering those randomly around the back of this panel. And then I'm going to take it and try to get it centered and straight here on my card front, which hopefully I did that. All right, next up, I'm going to add a little bit of this really pretty, and I know I used it on one other card as well. This is the Vanilla and Gold 3/8 inch shimmer ribbon, satin edge ribbon, sorry. It's beautiful. It's really shimmery and I don't know, pretty and dainty, and I don't know what other words you can use for it, but it's really pretty ribbon. If you haven't ordered it yet, just get it because you're going to love it. And it'll be perfect for all kinds of cards all the way through Christmas and everything. So this isn't even a Christmas card and I'm using it on there. So I'm going to take a little bit of Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to generally just make a line with it down here where I know my sentiment is going to be covering it. And then I'm going to take my ribbon, and we're going to make just kind of a wide Z on here. And we'll do this. And I know that I need to get over close to the edge of the card, the little piece of cardstock here, to make it be big enough to peek out from behind the sentiment. And then we're going to come back here. Same thing again, just making a little Z. And then make sure that we're sticking out here past sort of close to the edge of this little cardstock panel, and then we'll just do a little snip. And yes, these are my ribbon scissors. They're nothing fancy, but they're a little sharper. I don't use them on paper, so they don't hack up my ribbon quite as bad as my paper snips do that I often just grab and use to cut the ribbon, which I know Karen cringes every time she sees me do that. So, all right, next up we're going to do stamping of the sentiment, and I'm going to start, I've got my little embossing buddy, so I'm going to use that and rub it over. This is basic white cardstock, and it's, whatever size panel you have handy. Got Versamark ink, and we're going to do some heat embossing. So the sentiment, again, is from the Lovely and Lasting stamp set bundle. So Mary Merlot, yes, definitely would be a color for the pomegranates too. I couldn't decide. I sat and looked at it for a long time, and actually Mary Merlot I had in my hands, and I was thinking about using it, but then I switched because I wanted the background paper. So I went with the rich raspberry, which I know probably isn't truly the color of pomegranates, but I figured that it was close enough. So, all right, got gold embossing powder, and from the Metallics embossing powders, I'm just going to sprinkle that heavily over the top. Hopefully, put a little bit more here on. There we go. I think we got a decent embossing. So confused how to get multiple stamps, but it is actually, it's really easy. This one is one of the easier stamp sets with the multi-stamp sets, multi-stamped images to actually use. So definitely give it a try, and again, just play around with it a little bit. And like I said, I didn't have any trouble. They fit together pretty easily and pretty nicely. So hopefully you'll be able to have fun using it too. Is there a needed time delay for the embossing, or can it be done anytime? I'm not sure what that means. Needed time delay for the embossing. I don't know for sure what you're asking, Ruth Ann, so you'll have to ask me again. So, all right, so we've got our Stampin' Up! Heat tool. Level 1 setting is for drying. Level 2 setting is for heat embossing. So the level 1 setting can be used if you were doing watercoloring or something like that, where you want it to dry a little faster. The level 2 setting is a little hotter, and it's used for heat embossing. So you'll see it will start to turn shiny. And there we go, it's starting to go finally. shiny and pretty, and then you know that it is done. You can overcook your embossing powder, so don't cook it too long. Then it turns all brown and yucky. So, yeah, artist license for the color. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. Like I said, I figured it was close enough that we could use either one. I don't think it was going to be a big deal. So, and I did stamp the pomegranates correctly. Okay, so I'm glad to know that too, because like I said, I'm not a not a flower or a tree or any sort of horticulture expert by any stretch. So I usually just go with what I like and think looks pretty. So, all right. So I've got rich raspberry ink again, and this is that little framed image from the Lovely and Lasting stamp set. And we are going to ink that and stamp it in rich raspberry around the sentiment. The reason that I did it this way around rather than stamping the outside first, the framing of it first, and then the sentiment is because when you heat emboss, if I had stamped that image first, potentially embossing powder could have stuck to the rich raspberry image when I went to heat emboss it. And so usually I try to stamp the sentiment first and then anything that I'm going to be stamping with it afterwards. So glad that you're here, Esther. Thanks for hopping in today. Glad that you're liking what you've seen so far. So, all right, so this is the lasting label. I was going to call it lovely label, but it's lasting label punch that comes bundled with the Lovely and Lasting stamp set. And hopefully I'm going to get this slid in here, and hopefully I didn't put it too high up on the paper. That's one other thing, but I'll hack it down if I need to. All right, I think I've got it in the right spot. So there we go. Just going to put this in the punch it out quick, slide that out of the way. And then we're going to adhere it over the top of the card front. I'm going to make sure that I stick my Stampin' Dimensionals in the very corners of this so that at least there's some anchoring on the cardstock and the entire sentiment is not stuck to the ribbon, just because the ribbon can come loose a little bit, and you don't want your sentiment flopping around when somebody's pulling the card out of the envelope. You can certainly put dimensionals over the ribbon, but I usually just try to make sure that there are a couple of them that are stuck to the actual card front so that I don't have to worry so much about it falling apart when somebody opens up the card. All right, now I'm just going to go and put this over the ribbon and try to get it so that my ribbon is peeking out around the edges. And again, that I've got it secured to the card front, which it looks like I do. Last thing for the card front is I've got a couple of the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels, and I'm just going to add those around the sentiment here. So I'm going to take one of the smaller ones and put it here next to the actual thinking of you, and then we're going to take another one of the smaller ones and we'll kind of tuck it in here with the ribbon, and then one of the larger ones, actually one of the medium ones, I think we're going to take and stick over here on the edge like that. And that's it for the card front. So super easy. And like I said, I think it's pretty. I love this stamp set. I think it's one of the hidden gems in the Sale-a-bration catalog. So definitely grab it if you don't have it yet. All right, on the inside of the card, I kept it pretty simple as well. And I have got basic white cardstock. And we're going to grab those pomegranate images again. So this is the larger full pomegranate image. And I'm going to stamp this a little bit on the cardstock because it looks like we got a little extra ink on there, and I don't want to end up with a messy image here when I stamp it. So I'm inking that with rich raspberry ink, and this time I can actually stamp the pomegranates first. I don't know that it really matters, but I wanted to make sure that I had most of the pomegranates showing on the inside of the card, so that is why I stamped those first. Whoop, almost closed it up here before I stamped the seeds. So I'm going to take those and stamp it over the open pomegranate image. And then we're going to take our same Old Olive and Pear Pizzazz inks and stamp the leaves, and we're going to be all done. So I'm glad that you're liking the card. I appreciate that. So are the stamp inks waterproof? Can you use them with watercolors? The Stampin' Up! The regular inks that I'm using right now are not waterproof. They are water-based. So you can use the ink to watercolor, but unless you're really careful and really good at watercoloring, which I am not, you may be able to do it, but the regular Stampin' Up! Inks are all water-based. Stampin' Up! Carries a Stays-On ink that is waterproof that you can use when you're doing your watercoloring. So hopefully that helps and that answers what you're asking. So they're not waterproof. Yep, you're right. So they cannot be used with water unless you're actually using them to watercolor, and then you can certainly use them with water. But because you can actually use the inks to watercolor. And that's kind of fun to do as well. So Stampin' here in my Old Olive and Pear Pizzazz inks, just stamping the layered leaves in there again. And I didn't stamp that as well as I could have. I can see there's a little gap between the pomegranate and the stem, but we're calling it again artistic. So, all right, so I've got a little Stampin' seal here, and we're just going to adhere this inside the card base, and we're going to be all done for the day. So I appreciate you joining today. Don't forget about my double reward points ordering bonus. So if you're wanting to pick up a few things, head over to the online store and use my host code, or go to my online store and order, and you'll get double points with your order. So that's it for the inside of the card. Just going to close this up and do a quick crease with the bone folder. All right, and that's it. So this is the one I made ahead of time. This is the one we made here today. It's a really pretty stamp set. If you don't have it yet, definitely grab it. It's a good one. Like I said, you can get it for free with an order of $300 or greater, a personal order, or with a workshop or party of $300 or greater during Sale-a-bration. So I appreciate you all being here. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday. I can't believe it's July 1st already. Those of you celebrating this weekend, enjoy your holiday weekend. I will plan to be back around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday on my Facebook page, and then back here on YouTube Live around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Friday. Again, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your holiday weekend, and we